session is on natural products and nutraceuticals. We have two eminent keynote speakers. Professor Pulak K. Mukherjee is the Director, Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. He is live from Manipur. And we have Dr. Dilip Ghosh, is the Director, NutriConnect, and he is live from Sydney, Australia. So to chair this session, we have with us Dr. Jagdish Kishwan. So Jagdish Kishwan is a international personality, and Jagdish Kishwan is an internationally acclaimed climate change and forestry specialist with deep knowledge of practical issues in wildlife and agroforestry. He is a distinguished member of the Indian Forest Service and has held important assignments, including Director General of ICFRE Dehradun, and also Principal Chief Conservator of Forest and Head of Forest Force for Jammu and Kashmir State. He is concurrently affiliated at the Whaling Commissioner, Government of India, and CITES Management Authorities of India. So till 2017, he was Chief Advisor of Policy with the Wildlife Trust of India, a well-known NGO working for conservation of wild animals and their habitat. And additionally, he is a postgraduate in mathematics and also PhD in modeling of resin production. He was trained in tropical agroforestry and participate forestry and forestry education in University of Edinburgh and University of Wolverhampton in the UK. He has vast international experience dealing with forestry and agroforestry. He served as National Coordinator of Asia Pacific Agroforestry Network of FAO for 5 years. And during that time, he has developed a very good document on agroforestry, unpublished by FAO. He is IRCA certified lead auditor for FSC certification of forest management. He is an eminent authority of subject on climate change. There is a long list under his name, but I am just summarizing some of his important career achievements. Like he was actively involved in reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation plus. That is REDD plus. So he has introduced the concept at COP13 in Bali, and now it figures in a separate section as Article 5 of Paris Agreement. So he was awarded Uttarakhand Ratna and many more awards, obviously. And he has an active, he was also appointed as a member of the expert group of Indian Planning Commission on Low Carbon Development Strategy for India from 2009 to 2013. He is also a member of high-level working group constituted by the Government of India for delineation of the eco-sensitive areas in Western Ghats. He also chaired the expert committee in the Ministry of Environment and Forest to formulate the reference document for REDD Plus in India. So the document has since accepted by the ministry and was also put on its website in January 2015. So there are many more to add. I'll just mention few more things. He worked as Chief Advisor with GICA India Private Limited, and he has also holding the charge in the post of CEO. He has also presented more than 24 papers of various aspects of climate change related to forest and wildlife, forestry and agroforestry, including REDD Plus in journals and national and international workshops, seminars and meetings. Yeah. So, this is a, more than his career after his retirement from forest. department. He is also actively involved in different process and different committee members, and also lead editor in forest management FMU certification he is doing. So we welcome sir to chair the session. So over to over to Dr. Jagdish Kiswan sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay, for giving that long winding introduction. And as I was saying, I really don't know how much I deserve it now at this present juncture. But let me also say that it's always an event of honor for me to be associated with any event of Jadavpur University, with whom I have a long association since I was working in the ministry in from 2002 to 2006. Professor Ashish is a long-standing colleague. Thank you very much, Professor Ashish, for giving me this opportunity. And Dr. Sanjay Bala, of course, another colleague of long-standing. And let me also say my words of gratitude to Dr. Bhattacharya also, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor. Now, in this session, it is scientific session 1. And it's on natural products and nutraceuticals, which are the subjects of today. Everybody is speaking about those, especially during the time when we are facing this COVID situation. And to speak on this subject, now we have got very renowned speakers. I have got Professor Pulok Mukherjee, who is Director of Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development of DBT in Manipur. And he's also fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry and also fellow of National Academy of Sciences of India. And I do read in his biodata that he has got some past connection with Jadavpur University also. So Professor Pulok Mukherjee, you are very welcome here. And I will also introduce very briefly the next speaker also, Dr. Dilip Ghosh, who studied in India and then in US also, Tufts University of Boston. Presently, he's situated in Sydney, Australia. Wherein his director, NutriConnect, he again, deals with nutraceuticals from medicinal plants. That is the subject which is going to speak upon, dealing with the case of fenugreek and cinnamon. Let me also, with permission of the honorable two speakers and other participants, let me also lay down the ground rules for the two speakers. Each one of you can take please 20 to 25 minutes for your PowerPoint presentation. And I would also request that when you are covering your subjects now, it's my humble request to you so that we can have a purposeful outcome of this session. I would say that if the two speakers could also enlighten on the following aspects, which we have heard during the inaugural session also. The adequacy of production of the medicinal plants or nutraceuticals, then the sustainability of production, environmental angle, that this production does not lead to any adverse environmental impact also. Then economics of production, focusing mainly on small farmers. And then the regulatory regime, which is there in place. And when I say that, no, it's basically status of policy and institutional support, which is there, whether it is adequate or it requires, some kind of improvement. And then there could be some other angles also. For example, angle of CITES, which has got its own appendices, Appendix 1, 2, and 3. And as we know that they include certain species in these appendices also, which makes it a little difficult to regulate the production and trade of these species at the international level. I can give example for Professor Pulok Mukherjee, who is coming from Northeast, presently sitting in Manipur. The case of agarwood oil, which is in fact monopolized by only 1 or 2 persons in Northeast, basically in Assam. Then there could be case of Sasoria and the Pyrethrum, which comes from the Himalayas. So with that, I would request Professor Pulok Mukherjee, please take over and make your presentation. And if you could kindly keep in view the small aspects, which I just said, if you could keep in view. those also while making a presentation. So floor is all yours, Professor Pulok. Please unmute yourself and you can go ahead with the presentation. 20 to 25 minutes for
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll take only 20 minutes, and then whatever the questions are there from the participants will discuss, because I have another meeting at 1. Thank you very much for your introduction. Let me share my screen. So thank you very much for your Dr. Jagadish Kiswan ji, for your introduction. It is very nice to see Dr. Dilip Ghosh, who have been very much linked with us for several activities, along with even the Ayush Ministry as well for different activities. And we are here today because of this RCFC, which was the main thing came up with this Dr. Ashish Majumdar and our School of Natural Products at Jadavpur University. So I am so happy to see Dr. Majumdar here and making this type program with other colleagues, Sanjay and others who have been instrumental to develop this particular context. What I would like to say is, like, say, when we talk about these medicinal plants which are being used as food, then only the food we are treating as medicine. And we need to add some value on that with science. It is like that this scientific value addition is very much required, which has not been done in our context, I mean the Indian context, to that extent what was needed. And that is why medicinal plant has become a medicinal plant, food has become food, but we have never joined those things together in the context of their validation, value addition, and so many things. So what I mean to say that when we talk about that our medicinal plant is our food, you will see that we are coming up with a lot of aspects on Ayurveda and other things. And we in our country, we are so blessed to have this Ayurveda as one of the major context where itself the food has been made as one of the useful aspects, like in the Charak Samhita, Dinacharya, Riticharya, Ritucharya, and Sandhikal. Say, like what are the diet to be taken, which way to be taken, so many things are there. I am not a Ayurveda Charya, but I worked on medicinal plants, specifically highlighting its activities and all, because of the knowledge what we have from our tradition, from our Ayurveda itself. So when we talk about those particular contexts, we have a great interest on working in this area, where definitely we have to play more for its evaluation and validation. And if we go on these particular aspects, you can see that even Ayurveda has told about the taste. So any food depends on those specific taste. And when we talk about the specific taste of those people, then definitely we have to have the tasting of the food and tasting of in a different context, like say Madhura, Amla, Lavana, Katu, Tikta, and all these things. No, that those has been specified in different contexts in Ayurveda. So friends, again, we have attributes for different factors affecting the use of food in Ayurveda. So when we talk about those particular contexts, then the major aspects what come into is the combinations of the herbs, or even when you see the dietary supplement, nutraceuticals, single herb, multiple herb, and whatever, we see that there are a lot of common home remedies which are being used, and those things, when we talk into that, they have their own way of developing the things and evaluating the major potentials in every way. So if you see that several common home remedies like curcuma longa, gingiber officinalis, or even other things, no, they are being used as food, and they are very well known to be used as a medicine. When we talk about those particular contexts, then definitely we have our own way of developing the things. But one thing we need to we have to make them available with proper validations or even other safety study and other documentation, other thing. Dr. Ghosh will be telling you more on those contexts on which basis we have been working or what are the things to be done. But what I feel that many of the spices, starting from the general spices and other things, what we are using, they all have those Indian traditional food, but they have a very good potential medicinal value. And we work in this context at Jadavpur University, and again that is being carried forward here. That there need to be a systematic approach for evaluation of the medicinal value or the therapeutic efficacy of food. Say mixing A, B, C, or getting single plant, making it as a food product. This thing is good one way. This is very much needed. And at the same time, value addition to that one with scientific backup is another thing what need to be needed. And there only this Ayush Ministry, Department of Biotechnology, different CSR laboratories and all, they have taken a lot of initiative in developing those things. I'll give you some example on that. Say like you can see that capsaicin is another component which has been being used for long ages. And this is again example for food as medicines, and for lot many purposes this capsicum is used. And we work on those particular contexts, specifically disease specific way. And in fact, this dietary supplement has been made, and it will be making available in few time on that lead for Alzheimer's disease, this acetylcholinesterase inhibitors from plant. And these acetylcholinesterase inhibitors specifically, they work on some particular aspects, and there are a lot of studies what was done with our collaborations between Jadavpur University and King's College, and later on support from DST, DBT and all, that if you think for a specific disease, Alzheimer's, you know that this is a pathophysiology that people cannot remember, and there are a lot of physiological changes. There we see that the disease is not that much as it is in the Europe or America or other parts of the Western world. When we work on that there are a lot of medicinal plants which are being used as food in our system. They have a specific potentials for in this particular disease. And same is true what we are experiencing now, even in the COVID situation. You can see that yes, it is true that the Asian continent, the things has been controlled in a very nice way. That is, there is a lot of efforts from the central government, state government in different way. And definitely our food has a great role to play. And nobody can deny on that. Specifically, if you see the Northeast story, the story is the same. I'll tell you something on that as well. So coming to this acetylcholinesterase inhibitors, so this is like, say, we have to inhibit that particular enzymes which is being used by a specific community for a particular purpose, and then the enzyme acetylcholinesterase is responsible for breaking down of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter responsible for memory, learning in memory process. Now, if we go on that particular context, we can see that many of these inhibitors has their own use in our food. You can see that there are many medicinal plants which are being used as food, and those food they have the specific use as acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. Now, with their use, we have been developing some formulations as nutraceutical dietary supplements, and they have been proven by several in vitro, in vivo model, which has been reported in very reputed international journals as well. And this was again reported with the BBC when we are working on that. Scientists in the UK and India using the Indian Ayurvedic medicinal plant for Alzheimer's. Friends, what I mean to say that when we work on that we can boost the medicinal uses of those foods, and rather we can have a huge market potentials in that particular context. by boosting those natural products, using the food as our medicine. And as you can see now, a lot many products are coming as herbs, finished herbal products, herbal material, herbal preparation, because these are different terminologies, different way by law of different countries it is permitting. And India, we have for food we have the FSSAI license, and then for the drug we have three different aspects. One is on the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, we have the phytopharmaceutical law, and we have the Ayush drugs license. So India is the only country in the world who there are a lot of aspects of promoting this herbal medicine or rather herbal medicinal plants being used as herbs, maybe as a nutraceutical and phytoceuticals, pharmaceuticals, and so on. And if we go with the usage of those, no, so like as I told at the beginning, that Ayurveda told that 8 taste and then different type of uses. And if you see the whole country, our country is so diverse that that every state has its own way of making the food and developing them or taste and different things. And this is really unique, so diverse. And here, if we work on that, we have been working on this very program for quite some time, and we have come up with some very effective results. If you see that the single plant family, Cucurbitaceae plant family, this constitute the major vegetables which are being used even north, east, west, south, northeast. This single family. This family is Cucurbitaceae, like whatever that you are using, Lauki, Parval, cucumber, whatever, anything and everything. They are the most commonly used vegetables, reported for various therapeutic activity. There is a huge source of phytoconstituents, and many of them are used for revitalizing and boosting agents for the human health. They are cheaper, easily available, and even many of them have immunomodulatory potentials, which has been proven. And huge source of phenolics, flavonoids, terpenoids, vitamins, minerals are there in this family. And over 6% of the total vegetable globally is contributed by Cucurbitaceae, and in India it is over 30 to 35% is only a single plant family. So you see that how our country, the diversity of country contribute to the food, taking simple example of vegetables which are being used in the market. So on that, when we are going on the scientific aspects, I am really sorry to say like this cucumber, all of you know that this is the most highly used for different purpose. But when we go on the scientific aspects of evaluating the literature on it, I was so surprised when we are working on this particular context that there are very less report on the science behind use of cucumber. And we, with the industrial support with GST program, when we are working on that, and we made this a lot of aspects on that, and this is one of the family what we said. Now coming to that, say now when we are telling that yes, your food is your medicine, use that one to the context what you want. One thing we need to be very careful about the safety, toxicity, and other aspects of those plant. Now this is like say an example of garlic. All of you know that it is a very highly used medicinal plant being used as food in many contexts. But again, there are good, bad, and even ugly of garlic, which the work we did with All India Institute of Medical Science and that was proven with different contexts. That so we need to be very careful about the safety. Now, when we are going on that, then the major things what all of you will believe that there is a synergy with work, and this synergy, this is the difference between the when we use the plant as a food and the same thing when you are using as a medicine. So like when you are using as a food, we are taking it as in the full, and that means that any of the things which works in our body, it has its own level of giving the therapeutic efficacy based on its synergistic constituents. Say like if we say Lauki, then it has a lot of chemical structure, chemical constituents, and those chemical structure, chemical constituents is being taken into account to evolve the synergy in that particular context. And this synergy has become a big science now, which can really add value to this development of medicinal plant as food. And that is needed, that can be with the study of genomics, proteomics, transcriptomics, which is the omics technology now. Then we can have the network pharmacology analysis, combination synergy, then their metabolite profiling, then metabolomic study with network pharmacology can definitely lead us to get a lot of things. Even it can help in development of the drug. There is one example which has been made recently. I should not say recently, just 2-3 years back, like Risorin. You know that there is a drug that Niazide, which is taken for this tubercular patient and very toxic. And when we mix with this piperine from Piper longum, which is very much used, the dose has been reduced to 1/4, toxicity is reduced. See how beauty of that particular context. This is the context where we can use at least synergistic interactions of the food even can be utilized in a very different way. And obviously we have to know that what are the interactions on food and or on additive or other things can cause. And this is possible with the cytochrome P450 inhibition study, which is being made for a lot of plants, lot of foods together. And we have to be careful on that particular context as well. Even again, here I want to say that even Ayurveda, they told that there are some viruddha ahar, means we should not mix this banana should not be eaten with milk, curds or buttermilk, because there are some interaction. Now, those things need to have a scientific validation and scientific evaluations, which are now being done. That is evolving the scenario, whole scenario of development of food as well as the medicine as well. And many of those things that what we are being used in our Indian culture, they are really very good bioenhancer, which help in developing the whole hemostasis of our body in like say I have told you one piperine, another example with karam karvi, know that jeera, and this is a traditional food as bioenhancer, and it is, you will see that we are taking that jeera water and other things. No, the individual has its own individual implication, and you see the moringa, it has a very specific chemical moiety which really helps it's as a in so many contexts for developing drugs or medicines and other things. Now, coming to the scientific part of it, yes, individual food industries, if they have a cluster with the some specific institutions or the R&D laboratories where the steps are being taken now, even morning, Dr. Sastry, the CEO, what he was highlighting, that here in Imphal, we have made a phytopharmaceutical mission. In that mission program, major thing is that we are trying to highlight on the nutraceutical dietary supplement products which are being used, and they have a very good potentials for immune enhancement that has been proven. Now we want to prove those things with the chemical constituent, chemistry of that. Those, it is not that we are isolating those chemical constituents, but we want to prove that how those foods are effective as immunity booster or immunity enhancer, and then how so that will be a value additions to those individual constituents in a very, very effective way. Here is the, so for that we need to do that LC-MS study. Here is the on the Lagenaria, that Lauki, where it contains various phenolic compounds which show combined effect against hyperlipidemia and associated disease, which is being used for a long, long time. Then another one is the Lupha acutangula, which is very well used in the eastern and northeast part as well, which is a very effective carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and as a diuretic, you know. And then this is a food, and this is really being used as a medicine to a very, very effective way. And we have proven its omics, metabolomics with LC-MS study. Another very potent example is that Momotica charantia, Karela. All of you know, here again, this is used as anti-diabetic, hypolipidemic, and for several other activities. But we need to know more about their constituents, which has been made by our group through that LC-MS analysis. And then those LC-MS analysis, when we combine with the effectiveness of this network pharmacology, here is one example. I cannot show for all what we have shown, This is like this is not a food plant, this is a medicinal plant, specifically the Kalmeg, Andrographis paniculata, where we went by LCMS study, we got more than 16 compounds and together with 28 targets. And this is one of the plant which has very effective use as a in COVID-19 virus. And there lot of studies has been done, and we worked on this particular context, and very recently it was published about the immunoprotective potential of this Ayurvedic herbs Kalmeg against respiratory viral infections for the LCMS and network pharmacology analysis, and where we have established this andrographoloid, andrographinidine, and many other constituents together can help in the targeting the different targets for this particular disease to combat with the disease target, like say MAPK3, RHOA, IL-2, and so on, which are connected with COVID-19. So friends, what I mean to say that if we have those particular context of evaluating the things can really add value, and we can develop the things in a better way. But one thing is common questions what we used to get, that say like, if our food is our medicine, then why it is not being used specifically as a medicine itself, because nature has fixed the rule. And there many of these metabolites, like say starting from andrographoloids to curcumin of haldi, or even gingerol from ginger, and whatever you see, they have a very short half-life. And that is why we take that one, it metabolized, and then we do not get those therapeutic activity which is required for individual disease conditions, and we are repeating that one through our vegetables again and again. So there is no hypersensitive reaction by that way. But when we want to use them as a specific medicine, definitely we have to enhance the bioavailability. For that, there are a lot of techniques on which again our group have been working for a long time, developing a phospholipid complex with those molecules. And that's a technique which is through patent, some industries are exploring as well. We did with andrographis, we did with curcumin phospholipid complex for increased enhancement of the bioavailability. So there need to be the evidence-based study from the from Ayurveda or other use of traditional folk use of our food. From that, there is a specific trend from Ayurveda on evidence-based study from the tradition. What was there? What is the trend today? And when we talk on those tradition or trend, then if we do on the translational aspects, then we have to go on respect on our own tradition, the existing general health benefit, what are there, and their evidence-based validation and clinical intervention is very much needed. So there is a paradigm shift in this particular area, and this shift has taken place for a lot many reasons. Recently, this COVID-19 situation, yes, it has taught us in a very different way. I'm so happy to see that starting from the politician, bureaucrats, scientists, anybody and everybody in different area also, they speak about the use of the food, particularly those plants which has a medicinal value. And this is a great thing, and that is why NMPB has taken major role, and where we have been working together for developing the things. And I do believe that this tradition, what we had for the use of those plant as a food, we must do more scientific evidences for their validation, and then the translational component can very well help us in developing the things in a better way. So on that context, we have been working, and there are two very prominent documents. What I want to tell you people, you can access those things, which was developed by LCVR. Something will be again shown by Dr. Ghosh also, that we need to have a systematic approach for quality evaluation and validation of herbs, to use them as a food as well as for medicine. And this is very much needed for development of the things to a better way. So friends, as you know that when we do science, the things, the science cannot solve one thing, just create much more. And that is true. But in case of herbal, say when one herb contains say 10 or 15 ingredients which are effective, then when we mix one or two, then it becomes more. So it is not that we are going to find out individual molecules and create our own problem. So I like this quote that I don't need to know everything. I just need to know where to find it, when I need it. It was the quote from our one a great scientist. this is very true in case of use of food as medicines or the using of the healing plants. Healing plants are the nature gifts for everyone who can use it in a very, very different way. Let us promote and preserve those gifts and develop our food as our medicine, which has recently what we observed that really gives great value for developing the healthcare scenario, or rather we do not get the disease because of our great heritage being in the Indian context and other part as well. So thank you very much once again. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pulak. Thank you very much, Dr. Pulak, for giving that enlightening talk on connecting our food style with the medicinal properties. And I did note that you said that there are medicinal plants which can be used for treating of Alzheimer. In case it's developed, I would say that it will be a very good service to the humanity. And you did speak of the need for scientific evidences for verification and validation. That's a very valid point. And I do believe that the organizers are taking note of the salient points which came out from your talk, like, the family Zingiberaceae and Cucurbitaceae, having, plants and products, which are not only having food value, but are having very good medicinal use also. So with that, Dr. Pulak, thank you very much. And I'll move on to our very distinguished next speaker, Dr. Dilip Ghosh, who, as I said, it's based in Sydney, and he's going to speak on nutraceuticals from medicinal plants and basically treating with the case study of fenugreek and cinnamon. So, Dr. Ghosh, it's over to you. And organizers, do we have any scope of putting some queries to the honorable speakers also? We do have that. Please make arrangements if somebody wants to ask a question or put a query to the honorable speakers. Yes, please, Dr. Ghosh, please, the floor is all yours. And again, 20 minutes for you also. Dilip Ghosh, please proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon to my Indian friends and good day to other region. I'm very much honored to be part of this hybrid conference on this very important area, that is the medicinal plant used in lifestyle product. I would like to thank Professor Majumdar for giving me this opportunity. And I also want to thank Dr. our chair. I have one request to you, because I had a teleconference with Professor Majumdar, because keynote presentation cannot be done within 20 minutes. It's a student time. So he approved me 40 to 45 minutes. So I need your approval also. So as Professor Mukherjee,
Dr. Ghosh, you have my approval, and please keep the audience also spell bound, with your talk. Please go ahead.
Okay. So today I will, as you mentioned and Professor Mukherjee mentioned also. So because I have been working on nutraceutical for many decades, so I will concentrate on that part. And as Pulak also mentioned, a very wide range of food that can be medicine also. But today I will concentrate on fenugreek and cinnamon. So we all know these two herbs, the Indian herbs, and probably next few years, these two herbs will conquer the world also. So just a disclaimer slide. The information provided in this presentation is gathered and summarized from many sources. I made every endeavor to make it accuracy, and I have no financial connection with any companies if I mentioned any company's name or any product also. These are just for sake of science. Just because the audience here, either you are from medicinal plant or Ayurvedic or some sort of hybrid functional food or nutraceutical area. So that's why I have been working last 10 years on promoting this area globally. And we have been working with two biggest publisher, the CRC Press and Elsevier Academic Press also. So these are the book. I think it will be of your interest also. So we published first book on biotechnology in this area. There are many, many technologies. Pulok mentioned few technologies, the omics technology. Then we published the clinical aspect of functional food and nutraceutical. Then this is very important book, the innovation and commercialization of functional food. There are hundreds, thousands of patent, but maybe 0.1%, 2% patent finally see the pharmacy. So how to bring your product from lab to the market. So this book is all about that. That book Pulok mentioned heavily. This is some sort of pharmaceutical to nutraceutical. How the entire industry moving from sickness to wellness. So this is our authored book. It's not only from science perspective, from regulatory, marketing, everything. So we do a lot of research in this area, and that's one of the best-selling book also. 1.5 years back, Pulok and myself, we edited this book. It's a big book, 35 chapters nearly. Then natural medicine, we covered the clinical efficacy, safety, and quality also. Just a few weeks back, I published this one because brain health is my very favorite area. So nutraceutical in brain health and beyond. So when I talk beyond, so that means when we talk brain health, we always discuss cognition, memory, but we are not discussing, there are a lot of other things like the Alzheimer, Parkinson, autism, brain trauma. So I covered everything in this book also. So just a few days back, I was reading this article as a very interesting article. So controversial identities of medicinal plant in classical literature of Ayurveda. If you see, they submitted this article in early 2018, but ultimately it published late 2020. So nearly 2.5 years. That means the concept or hypothesis they want to publish here. So it went through a very turbulence with a lot of editorial changes and everything. That's why it took 2.5 years. So as Pulok mentioned, we are not Ayurvedic practitioners, but we have been working with India's and global leading Ayurvedic people. And I am closely working with many people, many groups in India, including Ministry of Ayush also. So the main thing in this book that is in red, there is methodological controversy for identity of medicinal plant in Ayurveda. So that is the main take-home message from this. And I think that conference is jointly organized by Medicinal Board, Medicinal Plant Boards of India, and also Ministry of Ayush also. I think they will take care this area. So we are all in evidence-based nutraceutical, evidence-based area. So definitely there are a lot of space for traditional knowledge, but we need to convert this traditional knowledge into the modern medicine concept. And if you see this model, you know all Professor Bhushan Pattabardhan, he published this model. So that is the integration of Ayurvedic principle into the modern medicine. You can see, so everything moving forward, that is in the modern medicine concept. So if we concentrate on fenugreek and cinnamon, I will give you some snapshot initially, then I will go a little bit in detail. So one Indian company, they are R&D or biopharmaceutical company. They have 187 patent granted only in cinnamon and fenugreek. So it is amazing, and 20 plus jurisdiction, including USA, Canada, Australia also. So all Western countries and 187. And if you see the blue color is patent filed, the red color is patent granted and patents in USA. That company, the Indus Biotech, they have 222 filed, 187 approved. Samilab, they are also very big multinational, Indian multinational company also. They have 173 submitted, 98 patent approved. Arjuna Natural, they also going very big way. They have very leading international collaboration also. Lila Nutraceutical, OmniActives, and Akai Group. You can see these huge number of patents only in fenugreek and cinnamon. And it is across the world. 20 plus countries, jurisdiction. You can see this across the world. Now start with fenugreek. If we see the crop distribution, it is, although we see, we always think fenugreek is Indian crop, but it is not. It is heavily present in other countries also, like Egypt, Iran, and entire that area also. You can see the distribution of this plant is a global distribution. So this book we are editing. It will go published in next 6 months. The traditional and modern medicinal uses of fenugreek. So it will published by CRC Press another 6 months time. The potential health benefit of fenugreek. So fenugreek, we all know. So from my childhood, we have seen my parents, my grandparents, they soak fenugreek in the previous night. Then at the morning, they drink the water also. So the overall, the cholesterol lowering, glycemia, diabetes mellitus, body fat lowering, appetite, body weight control, atherosclerosis, increase colonic health, performance, especially the sports nutrition is so strong in today's commercial area. So it improves the performance also, sports performance. And not only the normal sports, but the active sports. And the syndrome X also, it is reduced. We all know fenugreek. It is a leguminous plant found in India, Egypt, and Middle Eastern countries mostly. Traditionally used as a flavoring agent, culinary spice and food. It is chronicled in many ancient texts. History of medicinal use for diabetes and hyperlipidemia by human as early as 4000 BC. Abundantly available, generally recognized as safe, that is called GRAS in USA. So that means if any product has GRAS in USA, so that is recognized as 100% safe product. So fenugreek, it's a unique, very, very unique seed. They have mainly 4 chemical constituents. One is the amino acid part, another is the alkaloid part, the third one is the glycoside part, and fourth one is the fibers part. So what we have done, we isolated these 4 part separately, and we have done extensive study from complete toxicological to preclinical to mechanistic study to clinical trial, phase 2 clinical trial also. So the amino acid, glucose control, anti-hyperglycemic, alkaloid, antioxidant and protective, glycoside, anti-inflammatory and free testosterone boosting, fibers, muscle building, fat reducing, lactation and constipation. If you see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 block, you can see the amino acid, mainly the 4-hydroxyleucine. It is a sugar control, mood depression, non-insulotropic action. The green circle, that means the product already in the market. That means after extensive studies, that product already in the market, not only in India, but in a world very tight or a very high level regulatory environment also, like Canada, USA, and Australia also. Alkaloid, that is called trigonelline, that is oxygen protective, Parkinson disease, and also levodopa-induced dyskinesis. Glycoside, that is already in the market, that is a free testosterone booster, post-exercise recovery, bone and joint health. Saponin part, already in the global market, male libido and testosterone booster. Soluble fiber, that is mostly the galactomannan, that is the body composition, lipid fat management, that is mostly for weight management. Insoluble fiber and protein and fiber, these are mainly for the digestive health and also improve the glucose tolerance and reduce the weight gain. So I will give you just some top level ideas, and if anybody is interested, you can directly contact me for more information. So the glycoside as testosterone booster. So these are the active component, the trigoneucide 1B, vicenin 1, visectin, isobutexin. These are all GRAS, and we have extensive OECD guideline, GLP lab sepsis studies also. So we have done so far 2 clinical trials, the 1 and 2. So both are double-blinded placebo-controlled trial, and one done in India and one done in USA. And we have done animal studies also, just to know how this glycoside works. So these are the result from the study 1. There is significant increase in androgenic hormone level in double-blind placebo-controlled crossover study. So change in bioavailable testosterone. So you can see there is a heavy increase bioavailable testosterone, and also there is an increase of total testosterone level. As we all know, testosterone is important at all ages, but most important is free testosterone. The bound testosterone has no value in our mechanism. So we need a free testosterone. So that fraction or glycoside-based product, it increases the free testosterone within the physiological limit. So that is most important. And it is not under the doping, the International Doping Federation, because it is not a testosterone product. It increases free testosterone in our body. In the study 2, it is some bigger, larger, and it was done in the USA on the 30 resistance trained male. The significant increase in androgenic hormone level and reduction in the body fat also, both total testosterone and free testosterone. And also it has a 1.8 versus 0.8%, that is a placebo in the body fat reduction also. That is a very significant. And it approved with TGA Australia, Health Canada, and also received the national product number. It's registered with India with FSSAI as a nutraceutical also. The second area, that is the saponin part, and it is male libido. So the previous one, although it is increase the free testosterone, but we are not positioning in the libido or the sexual arousal area. But this one is male libido area. There are many studies. The first one study, double-blinded placebo-controlled 51 male volunteer, significant enhanced sexual function, performance, and satisfaction. That study 2, it is a 60 male volunteer, and you can see the free testosterone level increased by 98.7 versus 48.8%. And study 3, it is a 120 volunteers. It's a 12-week study also significantly decrease the total aging male symptoms. So that's why, so these all fenugreek, saponin or glycoside, it is very, very good for 45 plus people. So who are aging population. Third is glycoside, that is for recovery product for these sports people. There is a good study in Australia also. You can see the 14-day supplementation followed by the eccentric cycling exercise. So who are in the extrinsic heavy exercise, significant reduction of the inflammatory marker, and treatment was found to be safe and well tolerated. Then soluble fiber, mainly the galactomannan, that is also few studies have been done. The clinical 8-week resistant trained male also. And also we have done some good animal studies also. So this is done on the in USA with 48 resistant trained male, mostly the cycling area, significant reduction in the body fat percentage, and also the increase in the muscle strength and performance. So it is purely in the sports nutrition area.
Dr. Dilip?
Yes.
I'm getting messages from organizers also, because we have run out of time. So I would request you that minimum time that you can take. It's very interesting.
I will.
In fact,
I will go fast.
Yes, and if you can take 5 to 10 minutes in winding up, that will be very nice of you. I'm very sorry for this, but please understand.
No, I think we spent more time in the introduction of the chairperson or speaker.
Okay, okay.
When we start talking with the organizer, they give me 1 hour time. Now it is coming to 20 minutes. It's shame. Anyway.
No,
anyway.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
If we see the cinnamon, and that is the Sri Lankan cinnamon, not the Chinese cinnamon, we are concentrating on the procyanidin type A polymers. And that is the signature molecule in this fraction. You can see the different compound present in that different parts of the plant. Leaves, bark, root, fruits, and buds and flower. And we all know what is the traditional use of cinnamon. India, China, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Europe, and Indonesia. So these are the few areas we are targeting. One is the antioxidant area, antimicrobial, anti-diabetes, anti-allergic, and anti-cancer. So this is the area that is we called hay fever. It is very common throughout the world. The technical term is allergic rhinitis. So this is also approved by TGA Australia, Health Canada, and Ministry of Ayush also. And safety is very high. No dryness of nose, no drowsiness, no loss of smell, no rebound congestion, no ear blocking. So those who are using the synthetic corticosteroid, you can see you have a lot of problem in this area, that safety area. But because it is a purely cinnamon-based product, and we are using as nasal spray, only 100 nanogram in 100 microliter of spray. So that means very little amount of cinnamon is going straight to the target area.
Dr. Dilip?
Yes.
Dilip? Yeah, I discussed with the organizers, and you can take 20 to 25 minutes more, and please go as per your earlier speed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you can see that in synthetic area, there are, I cannot name the product name, but these are all multinational big pharmaceutical house product. These are all corticosteroid, antihistamine, or nasal decongestant. But there are some natural products also in the market. These are the nasal strip, essential oil, rinse system, saline nasal spray, and balms also. So, as I mentioned, we developed initially this product for the allergic rhinitis. Now we are moving to the flu-like symptoms, and this is very common around the world also. And also we have started 2 clinical trial in India also on the COVID patient also. I will show you some very interesting initial results, and you can see the potential of this our traditional medicine also. So when you use the corticosteroid or nasal decongestant or saline product, you can see these are the all safety issues. So, but in cinnamon-based product, there is no safety issues. But in addition, because your sleep pattern will improve, if you use the synthetic corticosteroid, you will lose your good sleep also. And then you can feel the pressure in your eardrum also. So here you can't feel anything. And these are heavily researched. We have completed 2 clinical trials, and both are double-blinded, placebo-controlled. We have done preclinical study to know the mechanism, how it works, and also the some extensive safety studies also. So this is the first one, 2 separate study, 100 microgram in 100 microliter, and you can see the 4-week study and 7-day studies also. We have done 1 study in India, 1 study in Australia also. So it can improve quality of life, reduce nasal symptoms, IE symptoms, non-hay fever symptoms, improved work productivity, and no effect on sleep also. So these are the some publication. You can, if you are interested, you can go. And this is the product based on this cinnamon. So the next area is, this is a very important area, although the product not approved yet, because we haven't submit any dossier to any regulatory bodies, but we have done some good studies also. So how cinnamon acts as a chemoadjuvant. So that means, as you know, the chemotherapy, the doxorubicin or paclitaxel. So this has lot of side effect, bad side effect. So one is the hair loss, that is the alopecia. Another is the weight loss, loss of appetite and fatigue, and mucositis, the abrasive mouth, even the GI tract also, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, blood-related side effect, and hepatotoxicity and nephrotoxicity also. So in our, we have done only 1 clinical trial. We have showed, this is the trial, although it is a small trial. We are planning to repeat this in Australia also. It was done on a breast cancer patient. We are planning to include some other cancer patient also. That is 34 female breast cancer patient undergoing chemotherapy. So effect on body weight. You can see the visit 1, visit 2, visit 3, and visit 4. So there is a very, very consistent increase of weight. Where is the placebo? There is a consistent decrease of weight. So if you go to the hair density also, that is we can measure by the trichoscan method. So I am not going to discuss all these details, but after 4 chemotherapy, we have seen people are almost bald. So there is no hair remaining. But you can see the hair density in cinnamon product, that is baseline 44.53. After 3 months, that is placebo, you can see there is a significant decrease of this. So that means the cinnamon that can stop of falling of the hair, and also some improvement of the hair growth. So you can see not only the hair and weight, so some anti-emetic medication also we have done, some vomiting episode also, that is almost decrease. Total number of diarrhea also decrease. Patient with cinnamon group showed decrease in the RBC count and hemoglobin. So in all area which are related to the after chemotherapy effect, so that cinnamon treatment can reduce this one. This is my last area. It is very, very significant, not in present COVID situation, but in the future any pandemic area. So as we know, the main protein, that is the we called the that spike protein that bind with the ACE2 receptor. But if you stop this binding, so that means that you can reduce the viral load. That means you can stop binding of the virus with our respiratory cell. That means that spike protein cannot bind to the ACE2 receptor. That means you can reduce the viral load. So what we have done, we have already published 3 or 4 very high level publication also. That is a +1 type of publication. And we sent our last study in the Nature Review also. So you can see that cinnamon that can go through the glycan masking also, and that can blocking the RBD and ACE2 interaction. You can see that spike protein S1, they bind to the ACE2 receptor and viral attached with our cell, but this one stop this thing. So we have done a lot of computer simulation model also, and you can see that computer simulation is a dose dependent also. So that means if you go higher dose at some level, you will get more results, but if you go that, you will get the less results also. And very recently it published a few months back also, that cinnamon also, it has very, they bound with several receptors also, you can see. So this is the summary. So cinnamon, they can work through the NOX2 inhibitor, that is the antioxidant pathway, expression of LL37, that is the antiviral activity, but most importantly, that is specifically for the COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, that is they stopped spike protein attachment with the virus, that is suppression of ACE receptor. So 2 studies already started in India, that 2 multi-center clinical trial. One is the prophylactic trial, that is phase 1 and phase 2 with nasal spray of cinnamon extract 100 microgram per nostril twice a day, 60 days, and 285 patients we are targeting. This extract is higher in procyanidin A. And the another trial, that is a therapeutic trial. It is not a nasal with high dose of particular extract of cinnamon, and that will go for the 15 days trial. So this one just accepted in a Journal of Ayurveda case report, that is published by All India Institute of Ayurveda. A cinnamon-derived procyanidin A compound, potential candidate molecule against coronavirus, including COVID-19. So that my summary work, what we have done in last few years. So sorry for taking a little bit extra time. So if you have any question, you can ask me, or you can send me to my email ID. You can see at the bottom. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh. And it was really very interesting to find use of fenugreek and cinnamon. Especially now, in fact, I'm feeling very enlightened. When you said that fenugreek can control cholesterol level, even fats, it can check blood pressure, and of course the colonic health also, and it is anti-diabetic. That I had heard, earlier also, but yes, now it is proved. That is what you said. Yes. And about this cinnamon nasal spray, and as you said, that is a potential candidate to fight a pandemic like COVID-19 in future also. That's also very, I would say, educational for me and for all the participants. Yes. So thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh, for that very lucid and enlightening address on medicinal uses of fenugreek and cinnamon. And I am, requesting the organizers, as Dr. Ghosh has said, he has been, in fact, he has volunteered that you can email the questions to him. But if anybody wants to ask the questions, if organizers do have an arrangement for any questions to be put to any of the two speakers, I'll be grateful before I give my closing remarks. And I would just end here by just giving a few suggestions to the organizers. I would say that with both the speakers, it has been very, very knowledgeable insight which they have thrown on the subject of nutraceuticals. And in other words, it's called also, they call it also functional food. The food which has got medicinal property also, and it is connected with our food style and food habits also. I would say that as has been pointed out by earlier speaker also, that we do have to have a system in place whereby we can have scientific evidences for verification and validation of these medicinal products coming from different medicinal plants and having food value also. And if we could develop a proper certification standard against which these could be tested and audited, and a proper certificate could be given for verification and validation of their scientific evidences as food with the medicinal value. And also, I would also like to organize to please, if they could kindly note that if we have adequate policy and institutional support to promote cultivation of these medicinal plants by small farmers or even any type of farmers, so that they can trade and grow these medicinal plants freely and can enhance their income also. So with those comments, I would like to thank, from the core of my heart, both the speakers, Professor Pulok as well as Dr. Dilip Ghosh, for the lucid talks in which they have given on the subject of nutraceuticals, these functional foods. Thank you very much, both the speakers, and thank you very much, organizers, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this session. Thanks a lot, everybody.
My pleasure.
Dilip Ghosh. Though there is right now there is no live question, however there is options for feedback or question for the individual speakers. Obviously we are getting some of the queries and that will forward to both the speakers. So we are very much thankful, and once again we thank you very much for your valuable time. However, keeping in view the time could not be extended, but obviously we will hear you again and also extend our queries to you. And we are also thankful to Dr. Jagdish Kishan for chairing the session.